When you have the long days.
Yes, it's like,
When the
you can't.
depression comes on like a friggin' flood.
Yes, you can't
And you feel
help
like you
but
can't even
question,
stand.
am I strong enough for this kind of challenge? Like, I just think sometimes we don't feel like we are. Well,
No, we're not.
and we're not. I was gonna say we have to lean on him for that.
It's only when you find the depths of your own weakness
Mhm.
where where it really becomes, do I believe God when he says, in weakness my strength is made perfect? When you really plumb the depths of that and you really get to the bottom of that and you think, I don't have anything left to give,
Mhm.
and God's like, all right, let me go. You know what I mean?
Right.
Just hold on. Jesus says there's times where all you can do is survive. It's not growth you're after, it's survival in those kinds of days, those kinds of weeks, those kinds of years. You know what I
Right.
mean? Welcome everyone to Beers with Jesus, Todd's World. I'm Todd. Carrie's here. How's it going, Carrie?
Fabulous. You?
I'm so excited
I know
for
you're
the next
excited to.
Beers with Jesus.
I have
We are
espresso today.
espresso.
Yep.
That's a big cup of espresso.
Yeah, it's only like
Oh my
Yeah, let me
God.
be clear. It's only to here.
A lot of espresso. We better get this through quick before you start flying. You'd be like
Right?
Red Bull.
It's my give it to God mug, and I was like, "Oh, I'm just gonna make a little
Espresso gives you wings.
espresso in there." Mm.
Welcome everyone. We did news yesterday. We're back for beers today. On news, we just go through the clips of the day, politics, news, whatever, different things. We have a good time with it. And on Beers with Jesus, we do stories. Pretty basic. We go through the stories of the Bible. Right now, we're almost done with Acts. We're in Acts 27.
Yep.
And so this is the tail end of Acts is kind of all about Paul, the Apostle Paul. And he's been in prison for a while.
Mhm.
By Rome, kind of to keep him, kind of to kind of keep the Jews like mildly pacified, although they're not. They still want to kill Paul, and it doesn't matter how long he sits there;
No,
they're obsessed.
they have not let up.
And Rome, any of the public officials seem to know, whether it's Agrippa or whether it's Festus or Felix. They all seem to know Paul's innocent, but that doesn't prevent Paul from being in prison for 2 years while they just kind of, pacify the Jews. And finally,
Right.
Paul appeals to Caesar, and they're going to send him to Caesar, even though they know he's innocent. But
Mhm.
also, it was in 24 or something that Paul got the vision from God, and God told him, listen, you're going to go to Rome, and you're
Mhm.
going to be my witness before Caesar. And so Paul's kind of single-minded about that.
Yeah.
He's in prison. That's life. It's not the way I'm quite certain that Paul expected. And that's kind of what this entire chapter 27 today is going to be about, is that God will get us where he wants us to be, but it's sometimes in the most screwed up way possible.
Yes.
Oh,
It's not
just
what we
because you
think.
have a vision for the end doesn't mean you have any idea what's going to happen. And even if you're the Apostle Paul, no idea what's going to happen to get you there. You
Keep
know,
reminding me of that and our listeners of that, even if you're Paul.
even if you're
Because I
Paul.
think sometimes, like, I don't know, we have higher expectations, faster expectations, and it's like, hey, even Paul had to wait, you
And it
know?
doesn't matter. You're going to see, we're going to go to Genesis next after this, guys, after we're finished with Acts. I'm excited about that.
Mhm.
But in a lot of the stories of Genesis, you're going to see it in Joseph. You're going to see it in Abraham. You're going to see it
Mhm.
in Isaac and Jacob. You're just going to see that God will put a vision. God will give someone a vision. He'll put
Mhm.
a call on their heart, but then all bets are off after that. I mean, for the next 10 years, you could look at it and be like, it appears that God forgot. And, you know what
Did
I
he
mean?
change his mind or what?
So for us, it's learning to trust. It's learning to trust along the journey that God's going to get us to the end that he promised us to,
Mhm.
when it doesn't feel like it, oftentimes at different points in the journey. And this Acts 27 kind of encapsulates that entire thing. Like that's
Mhm.
kind of the message. So anyway, Carrie's going to read for us today. We read out of the Message because the Message is the best. If you don't have a Message, burn your Bible and go buy a Message. No, I'm just kidding. Don't burn your Bible.
Even
Anyway,
Todd references multiple translations.
I
But
like the message.
yeah,
I
this
think
is
that,
what we read from.
especially for what we do, the narrative version, it's just so good.
Yeah.
And part of what I was thinking when I'm looking at this version, at this story today, and then I'm thinking ahead towards Genesis is, and I listen to other Bible teachers, other preachers, whatever, talk about these things, and I think a lot of guys get hung up on the facts. I think that's a problem in Genesis, is they get hung up on the facts, and there's a difference when you're dealing with stories between facts and details. Those are very different things. And I think that's going to serve us well going into Genesis. I think it serves us well today. When I look at the narrative, what I look for is I look for details, the story, character, and kind of narrative lines. And that, I think, is generally what the Bible's after in communicating to us. It's not a science. It's not a ship teaching us how to sail in the middle of a shipwreck or in the middle of a storm. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, I mean, if you think about it, when they were writing this, you and I operate from the premise that this is accurate and true. When they're writing this, they're not trying to prove anything. They're just telling the story of what's happening. They're sharing the details of the events.
Yeah.
So to look back on it now and be like, well, where's the proof? It's like, well, that wasn't the intent while they were writing it.
Right.
It wasn't like, we're going to prove to future generations that these events took place. It's like, no, they're just telling us what happened.
The people that Luke thinks he's writing to, they already believe it by and large.
Right.
So,
which I feel like is really strong evidence of proof in itself.
Exactly.
Yeah, it would be kind of suspicious if it were trying to lay out proof for the future.
Right. If it's trying, you never get the feeling the Bible's trying to talk you into something.
Right.
And it's not.
Yeah.
Like, Jesus is never trying to talk people into something.
Nope.
When Jesus says you have to eat my flesh or drink my blood, and then most of the people following him leave him, he's clearly not trying to talk people. It's not flattering words, right?
Right.
So, okay, Carrie, why don't you read it for us? Acts 27. Carrie's going to read the chapter for us, and we'll get into it after that.
A storm at sea. As soon as arrangements were complete for our sailing to Italy, Paul and a few other prisoners were placed under the supervision of a centurion named Julius, a member of an elite guard. We boarded a ship from Adramyttium that was bound for Ephesus and ports west. Aristarchus, a Macedonian from Thessalonica, went with us. The next day we put in at Sidon. Julius treated Paul most decently, let him get off the ship and enjoy the hospitality of his friends there. Out to sea again, we sailed north under the protection of the northeast shore of Cyprus because winds out of the west were against us, and then along the coast westward to the port of Myra. There the centurion found an Egyptian ship headed for Italy and transferred us on board. We ran into bad weather and found it impossible to stay on course. After much difficulty, we finally made it to the southern coast of the island of Crete and docked at Good Harbor. Appropriate name.
Luke's a little on the nose there.
That's funny. By this time, we had lost a lot of time. We had passed the autumn equinox, so it would be stormy weather from now on through the winter. Too dangerous for sailing, Paul warned. I can see only disaster ahead. Hold on, I gotta pull this out here. I can see only disaster ahead for cargo and ship, to say nothing of our lives, if we put out to sea now. But it was not the best harbor for staying the winter. Phoenix, a few miles further on, was more suitable. The centurion set Paul's warning aside and let the ship captain and the ship owner talk him into trying for the next harbor. When a gentle southerly breeze came up, they weighed anchor, thinking it would be smooth sailing. But they were no sooner out to sea than a gale-force wind, the infamous nor'easter, struck. They lost all control of the ship. It was a cork in the storm. We came under the lee of a small island named Clauda and managed to get a lifeboat ready and reef the sails, but rocky shoals prevented us from getting close. We only managed to avoid them by throwing out drift anchors. Next day, out on the high seas again and badly damaged now by the storm, we dumped the cargo overboard. The The third day, the sailors lightened the ship further by throwing off all the tackle and provisions. It had been many days since we had seen either sun or stars. Wind and waves were battering us unmercifully, and we lost all hope of rescue. With our appetite for both food and life long gone, Paul took his place in our midst and said, "Friends, you really should have listened to me back in Crete. We could have avoided all this trouble and trial, but there's no need to dwell on that now."
Like Rush Limbaugh's book. See, I told you so.
No, I know. He's like, "I've just told you I told you so, but let's not dwell on that." From now on, things are looking up. I can assure you that there will not be a single drowning among us, although I can't say as much for the ship. The ship itself is doomed. Last night, God's angel stood at my side, an angel of this God I serve, saying to me, "Don't give up, Paul. You're going to stand before Caesar yet, and everyone sailing with you is also going to make it." Did I glitch?
Nice.
Did I glitch, or is it okay? Okay.
No, you're good.
All right. So, dear friends, take heart. I believe God will do exactly what he told me, but we're going to shipwreck on some island or another. On the 14th
Get
night.
prepared.
Gosh, this is like, well, plus they've just lost everything. They've thrown all their provisions overboard, right?
Yeah.
On the 14th night, adrift somewhere in the Adriatic Sea, at about midnight, the sailors sensed that they were approaching land. Sounding, they measured a depth of 120 feet, and shortly after that, 90 feet. Afraid that we were about to run aground, they threw out 4 anchors and prayed for daylight. Some of the sailors tried to jump ship. They let down the lifeboat, pretending they were going to set out more anchors from the bow. Paul saw through their guise and told the centurion and his soldiers, "If these sailors don't stay with the ship, we're all going to drown." So the soldiers cut the lines to the lifeboat and let it drift off. Wait, were they in it? No.
No.
Okay,
They were
thank
letting
you.
it down. They were going to get in it and take off.
You're on your own.
Mutiny of sorts.
Gotcha. With dawn about to break, Paul called everyone together and proposed breakfast. "This is the 14th day we've gone without food. None of us has felt like eating, but I assure you to eat something now, I urge you to eat something now. You'll need strength for the rescue ahead. You're going to come out of this without even a scratch." He broke the bread, gave thanks to God, passed it around, and they all ate heartily. 276 of us, all told. With the meal finished and everyone full, the ship further lightened by dumping the grain overboard. At daybreak, no one recognized the land, but then they did notice a bay with a nice beach. They decided to try to run the ship up on the beach. They cut the anchors, loosed the tiller, raised the sail, and ran before the wind toward the beach. But we didn't make it. Still far from shore, we hit a reef, and the ship began to break up. The soldiers decided to kill the prisoners so none could escape by swimming, but the centurion, determined to save Paul, stopped them. He gave orders for anyone who could swim to dive in and go for it, and for the rest to grab a plank. Everyone made it to shore safely.
Good job, Carrie.
Thank
Look at
you.
you. You didn't get your online mass today, so you got to make your own.
There you go.
Carrie's the priest today.
Oh, no.
No, we don't do that in that church.
No, we do not. It is not allowed.
No, you did a great job.
Thank you. So, it's
I'm going to put up our little map.
Oh, yeah, do.
This is going to help
where we are
people.
going.
I don't know how long we'll leave it up. We'll leave it up for a while.
Yeah.
But I want
Let's
to see.
take a
I want
look.
people to see. Let me get this
God,
over
itch.
here. There we go. How's that?
Mhm.
Look at that. Like a professional podcast.
I know. I love this. This is really good, Todd.
Okay. So Paul took off. If we follow the map here, if we look at this map, if you guys are listening, well, I don't know what to tell you. You can't look at the map. You'll have to trust my Hall of Fame descriptions. So he takes off from right around, in Israel, Caesarea area.
Okay.
Goes up north to side, and then they go around the north side of Cyprus. Normally they wouldn't. That wouldn't be the fastest way. Normally from Sidon, you'd cut the south side of Cyprus to Myra. But they took
I
off
see where
right
we
around.
are. We're starting in the lower right and going up. I see.
Yep, and they started around September 15th. That was about the last time from September 15th to about October 10th was known as a dangerous time to set sail. But ships still did it after October 10th, and that's where it talks about the autumn equinox. They by and large quit sailing in general in the Mediterranean until March. They kind of
Okay.
quit for the winter because it wasn't safe.
Okay.
And they didn't have modern ships are a lot bigger, a lot sturdier. They have engines. They didn't have any of that. They were going by sail, and when the
Mm-hmm.
winds went contrary, you didn't really have much of a shot. So in Myra they changed ships. They got on a grain ship, and then they came over here. So this really is kind of, I guess you'd call it Turkey now, right? This would be all of this
Is this Myra?
area of Asia, Lycia, Pamphylia,
Mm-hmm.
Galatia. That's all modern day Turkey right now.
Okay.
And then
Mm-hmm.
when you get over here to Achaia in Macedonia, that's all modern day Greece, right? So they're
Mm-hmm.
trying to get around. They
Okay.
get around
Yeah.
Cyprus, and then they're going to cut around the south side of Crete. Now at Crete, they get into what's called Fair Havens. That was what Luke said was appropriately named. But it wasn't a very good harbor to spend the winter in because they're going to be there for 6 months.
Is Crete
And
where he has the
that's
vision?
yep, and that's where well, no, I don't think so.
Oh,
Crete's where
okay.
he
All right.
warns them, listen,
Oh.
it's dangerous to go out here. Now, when you look at it's only a few miles between Fair Havens and Phoenix. All they're trying to get to is right along the shore. That shouldn't be that big of a deal. With
Mm-hmm.
a modern boat with a diesel engine, it wouldn't be a big deal. You'd be there in 20 minutes. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? The
Yes.
problem is that they're relying on wind power and on sails. And so the wind really can shift that fast on you. And and Paul warned them, you don't want to go out right now. They go out and in just that quick, they're
Mm-hmm.
blown out to sea. And once they're blown out to sea, they're pretty much screwed. Because at that point, they're in the middle of a nor'easter and a storm for 2 weeks. They're just tossed on the sea. Then there's
Yeah.
just nothing. I mean, you can't, you take sails down and you just kind of bob, you throw things overboard, trying to keep the ship afloat, essentially. And they gave up all hope. And then you can see that it takes them 2 weeks. They get all the way over to
Mm-hmm.
an island over by Malta. I don't think it's actually, maybe it is Malta that they land on.
Okay.
And that's where the ship, they find some land, and the ship breaks apart as they're trying to make the beach because it hits some reefs. And then they all grab on
Mm-hmm.
to whatever flotsam and jetsam they can find, the planks, the
Yeah.
barrels, whatever, kind of get themselves to shore. But Paul's right. Paul has the vision. God says, I'm going to get you here safe.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to lose anything. Now, that isn't true. He says, I'm not saying that about the cargo. I'm not saying that about the ships, but we'll be intact. We'll save our lives, and God will get us where he's going to get us. He's promised us that. And this is, though, if you figure this is, I don't know, it's maybe a month that they're
Mm-hmm.
on, between everything before they shipwreck would be my
Mm-hmm.
guess. Could be a little longer, but this is not, if you're Paul and you've already been in prison, wrongfully
Mm-hmm.
for 2 years. God says, listen, don't worry. I'm going to get you to Rome. I'm going to get you to Caesar. And then you get on a boat and all hell starts breaking loose on your way to get to where, this is what we were talking about earlier, to where Paul knew God was going to take him. But at
Mm-hmm.
some point in the midst of this storm, tossed on a sea, they lose all hope.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't really blame them. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Right. I mean, yeah, I'm
It's
sure it looked
hopeless.
pretty bleak. They know they went out during a dangerous time and it's a storm and they have no control. Also, Paul's got to be frustrated that God's told him what's happening, but like those who are in charge of where they sail and where they port aren't following any of, his suggestions, obviously.
No, although it does seem like the centurion
Mm,
certainly liked Paul. Says he
yes.
treated Paul most decently, let him off to go see his friends
Mm-hmm.
when they stopped at Sidon. And even if he's accompanied by a soldier. I mean, the point is that that this guy had respect for Paul. That's another
Mm-hmm.
thing we see, like you throughout the Old Testament. We're going to see that in Genesis, and often even in Joseph's a slave, and then he's in prison, and even in these perilous situations, generally God's favor is on those that he's chosen.
Mm-hmm.
And generally those people that are working with him, that are over top of him, recognize it. And
Right.
they generally are favorable to him. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, how could
Because
you not? Like, if these people are really like in direct communication with God, how could you not sense
right.
something about them?
Wouldn't you think that if you're the centurion, what's his name, Julius, and you're dealing with
Mm-hmm.
Paul,
Mm-hmm.
that it's just going to bleed off Paul, like just his aura, that this guy is just a man of God, like he's wise. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean? He's been with God. He's seen things, you know?
Right. He's
Even
not a
if you don't know
hardened
what.
criminal prisoner who's belligerent with everyone
No.
every day. No.
And
He's
I'm sure
probably
he's treating everybody well, doing what he
right.
can to make things work. And
He's
so
probably a joy to be around, honestly.
I know, I would think that it seems like that.
Mm-hmm.
Why would the centurions and everybody, and even Felix and Festus are all pretty, it says they kind of let him have the run of the place and whatever. Like I
Mm-hmm.
said, he's still in prison. He's still not just going to Yesterdog whenever he wants. But
Right.
it's so I so then what I looked at through this whole thing was, here's a on my in my message Bible, one of them has these devotionals by Eugene Peterson, and I like to read them once in a while.
Oh, nice.
He's the primary translator of the message, and so he has a section on Acts 27 called "Don't Give Up," and I felt like that's it. That's kind of the message of the whole thing, you
Mm-hmm.
know. Luke wrote, "We lost all hope of rescue, but in these conditions of hopelessness, Paul spoke hopefully. He told the men that an angel of God had appeared to him in the night and assured him that he would arrive in Rome and stand trial before Caesar. And then he told them that all who were with him would get there too. The angel told him, 'Don't give up.' And so he told the men, 'Take heart.' God would strip them of what had obscured their awareness of him, the ship, the job, the mad rush to Rome, but their lives would be persevered. God is also out to get us, you and me. Everything we consider a loss can be a chance to discover God at the center, to realize the preciousness of life itself, of love unencumbered by lust and pride and greed. The voice keeps arriving in the midst of terror and disaster and hopelessness. Don't give up. Take heart." And
I
I
love
felt like
that.
that was so good. Like that's that's the whole point of this, like
Mm-hmm.
of this passage. This passage is that God's gonna get you where he wants to get you,
Mm-hmm.
but man, it might be a hell of a road to get there. Right?
Yes.
And you might wonder multiple times on this journey to where God wants you to be, if you heard him wrong. You'd be like, wait a tick, this doesn't seem right. Like
Mm-hmm.
it seems like there'd be some, like if God wants to get you to someplace, like he would smooth the road. But he doesn't. It's
We
the
think
exact
that.
opposite
What?
sometimes.
Why do we think that? Is it just wishful thinking? Why are
I
we like
think
that?
so.
And
Well,
maybe we
because,
just think because if it's sanctioned by God, then of course it's going to be.
right, I think that's what we think. And so God gives us a vision and we get excited. I think,
Yeah, it's going to be
like
like
Paul.
poof, like it's going to happen for us.
And then we don't see the route the ship's going to take between Caesarea and Rome. Like we don't know all that's going to happen, right?
Yeah,
God's promised us to
right.
get there, but multiple times. Sometimes it takes years, sometimes it takes 10 years. And along that way, we can lose people. We can, people can die. You can lose friends to arguments. They move away, whatever. You can lose people along the way. You can lose stuff when it talks about God stripping
Mm-hmm.
them. Like,
Yeah.
you don't know what you're going to lose along the way. Could be that you have a great job, a great career. It could be that you have a lot of things going for you, maybe a church you really like, whatever it is. And it could be that God might strip all of that off you on the way to get you to where he wants you to get. And you don't think that's fair. You don't even think that's right. You don't even think you're on the right journey. You're like, none of this makes any sense.
Yeah, 100%.
And the only way you can hold on is just kind of grit it out through faith, you know?
Right. I was going to say, what's the solution to that? And I want to say solution. What's the proper coping mechanism for that? And I was going to say, is it just every day kind of checking in with God and saying, am I doing what I'm supposed to do today? Am I doing your will today to get where you want me to go? Like, is that,
I think so. I think
yeah.
getting in front of him every day, preferably every morning, getting in
Mm-hmm.
the Bible some and praying and just putting yourself in front of him and saying, listen, today is yours.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever comes, whether I'm on a ship for 10 days and I haven't eaten because I don't even want to eat, I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
do what you want me to do. And then at some point, 2 weeks in, when basically all hope is lost, Paul's like, hey, let's have breakfast.
It's
Just
time to
before we throw everything overboard, let's eat what we can.
break out the power bars.
And they're like, what? But it says he broke bread,
Mm-hmm.
which we've seen Jesus do multiple times, right? Jesus
Mm-hmm.
broke the bread and multiplied. So he broke the bread,
Yeah.
gave thanks to God, passed it around. They all ate heartily. With the meal finished and everyone full, the ship was further lightened by dumping all the rest of it overboard. So it's like,
Yeah.
this is our final meal. That's probably what some of the sailors thought. They thought, well, screw it.
That's exactly what I was going to say. They probably thought, well, it's my last meal. Like, just, I wonder how many of them were like, just thought he was crazy.
Well, I
Still
wonder,
felt
maybe they
hopeless.
thought he was crazy, and we get that too. We get put in situations where those around us, the world around us, might think we're crazy to keep trusting God because it doesn't look like they're not any different than us. They expect that if God called you to something, it's going to be smoother sailing too.
Mm-hmm.
And that if it's not smooth sailing, maybe God's closing the door. That's what we always think. But that wasn't true with Paul.
Mm-hmm.
He just had to push through. He had to take heart. He had to take God day by day by day. Like it says in Matthew 6, the birds of the air are careless in the care of God. It's
Oh,
that
say that
kind.
again.
The birds are careless in the care of God. They don't have the sparrows don't have any job
Oh,
descriptions, but God takes care of them.
yeah,
And
they don't worry.
yeah.
Is that what you
And
mean by?
I think I think Paul's at that point. Paul's been through so much. I think Paul can just take it a day at a time. And he can be like, listen, God, you told me none of this makes any sense. I can't even see how we get from here to there. I don't know. But because you said it, and because I've
Mm-hmm.
seen you always be faithful in what you say and in what you call me to, I'm just going to believe you anyway. I'm going to believe you even though everything I see and every sense that I have is telling me that I shouldn't believe you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to believe you anyway. And I think that's what God really, like, that's what he's after. That's why do we have hard roads? I think because of that. I think he wants to see us stand up in the middle of a storm, look around, see no sign of him anywhere, and believe him anyway. And then I think God is like, that's when he smiles. He's like, yeah, they're starting to get it. You know what I mean? And we don't feel like that. We feel like we're barely keeping it together, like we're barely holding on.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's at those times that God's like, you're right where I want you, man. You know what I mean?
On paper, hearing you say this all sounds very inspirational, but when you actually feel that way, like
When you have the long days,
yes, it's like,
when the
you can't,
depression comes on like a friggin' flood,
yes, you can't
and you feel
help
like you
but
can't even
question,
stand.
am I strong enough for this kind of challenge? Like, I just think sometimes we don't feel like we are. Well,
No, we're not.
and we're not. I was going to say we have to lean on him for that. Woo.
It's only when you find the depths of your own weakness
Mm-hmm.
where it really becomes, do I believe God when he says, in weakness my strength is made perfect? When you really plumb the depths of that and you really get to the bottom of that and you think, I don't have anything left to give,
Mm-hmm.
and God's like, all right, let me go. You know what I mean?
Right.
Just hold on. Jesus says there's times where all you can do is survive. It's not growth you're after, it's survival in those kinds of days, those
Mm-hmm.
kinds of weeks. those kinds of years. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Right. Yeah, I heard something oh shoot. It's not in front of me. I have it written on the kitchen counter. It was something in one of the masses last week, and they were talking about when we have to wait. When we have to wait, and Jesus is asking us, like, what are you willing to do for me while you wait? And one of the things said, it's not about it's the power is not in your strength, it's in your surrender.
Yeah. And that's where you really find it.
hmm
But you can
So
only,
it's not like I had, like, in that moment, I don't have to be strong enough. I just have to say, God, I'm not strong enough. And you surrender it all to Him.
you just have to believe him anyway.
hmm
In the face of everything that you see, which that's hard, in the face of everything you feel, that's even harder. Because
I
sometimes we
know.
can see stuff and it can look hopeless, but we still have hope.
hmm
And that's okay. But sometimes we don't even have hope.
Right.
And sometimes we're like, this cannot, this whole thing is screw. It's just messed up.
And this storm that they're going through, I just want to say for people listening that that storm can actually be events happening in your life, but also can just be an emotional storm. Like you're
Right.
talking about, really, it's just feeling really dark and hopeless. That
Could
can
be
be the
grief,
storm.
could be mental illness, could be
Yep.
struggles with depression, could be chronic illness, could be physical, it could be a lot of different things, could be anything.
Right.
Could be a career that you feel like is just floundering, could be like a family that just seems like it's falling apart.
Mm-hmm.
And it just doesn't make any sense that your family be falling apart right now.
Right.
You
Right.
finally are kind of getting on board with God and you've told him you'll do some things and he's called you to something and then everything falls apart. And you just think, what?
I know. That does happen sometimes.
But I do think it's in those seasons. It's in those storm shipwreck seasons where we get the most growth. Where our faith really becomes strong. It becomes tested by weather beaten and weather tested. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And we may lose a lot along the way. I'm not saying there's not any loss. There's loss. And it's real loss.
That ship falls apart to the point that those who can't swim well are like floating on its pieces to shore.
Sometimes you might not have much of your faith left. It might be like a 2-foot board in the middle of an ocean. And you think maybe I can see land.
Right.
But that's enough, I think, is what we.
That's right. He says if you have the faith the size of a mustard seed, right?
Mustard seed, yep, exactly. Yeah. So I think that's where Paul's at, and I think that's the whole point of this passage is that God's going to get you to where He wants to get you, and that's what you got to believe. But it might be a hell of a rough journey. You think that's fair?
Right. That's fair. Grab a plank, folks.
You don't even need your online mass. All you need is beers with Jesus.
Actually, I will say this. This was a good one. Like I feel like we had a full loop message with it. We didn't just talk about what happened. I feel like but it was good.
And it's only been a half hour. Look at us go, guys.
Wow.
We're like,
it was efficient.
It was an express beers with Jesus today. All right. Well, I think we did pretty good. I mean, that to me, that's the story. That's the point of the story.
Yeah, this was really good. Thank you.
And I don't think it's always got to be complex and winding and real heavily involved. Sometimes it's right there. And that don't give up. Yeah. That's one that, man, we need over and over and over and over and over. You know what I mean?
Yes, we do.
Like, it's always a good reminder. Because if it's not us, it's somebody in our life, but it's like, yeah.
Do you think we will be like old and gray by the time that concept comes naturally? Like, don't give up. Like,
I don't know if it ever comes naturally, but I think it gets easier. Don't you?
Well, yeah, I mean, like I think about my late grandma and I just think that her faith, what we saw was unshakable. Yeah. And it was her first instinct. It was her first instinct to pray thanks. It was her first instinct to pray for help. It was her first instinct to pray for her enemies. I'm like, where do you have to go before you don't? How long do you have to live before you don't need reminding? Don't give up.
Maybe she still needs reminding, but when you live long enough things have been stripped away that you don't have a whole lot else to go to right away, and that's been tested and tried, and it's been over the decades, and it doesn't make sense, but it doesn't. You could go back 20 years and you can think, yeah, but it didn't make sense when this happened, and God made it work. It does help to have a history to look back on and say, I've walked this journey with Jesus for a while. Like, you would like to think that you'd get better at it.
Yeah, I
that
hope
you'd grow
so.
in faith, right?
I hope
You want to
so.
grow in faith. You don't always want to be, and Paul's like, hey, maybe you want to be that guy who you're in the middle of it, and you just want to throw a party, and everybody's looking at you like you're insane. Dude, do you know what's going on in your life? And you're like,
right. It's time for a big meal. Let's go.
Let's have dinner. Let's have beers with Jesus.
It's cool.
All right. Well, I think we did pretty good today, Carrie.
We did.
Short and sweet. Brevity is the soul of wit. All right, guys. Thanks for joining us today, Carrie. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you.
If you haven't listened to Wildly Opinionated News Hour, we drop that every week on Tuesdays. Beers with Jesus on Wednesdays. ToddsWorld.net has all the books, audiobooks, some great stories out there. I'm going to be putting some short videos out. We're going to start promoting that hard.
I'm excited about that.
My memoir's on there, Leaves That Blew Away. It's great. So get on there, buy those. Also a bunch of merch, fun stuff. So check out ToddsWorld.net. And thank you for joining us. Subscribe, send clips to friends, tell them about us if you haven't.
Please do. And if you're on a platform that lets you rate the show, please give us a good rating.
Yeah.
Send a positive comment.
7 out of 10.
A positive.
Carrie really needs some positive comments. I guess I put a clip of just her out and you guys were mean to her.
Not on Beers with Jesus, though, because I feel like we have charitable.
I don't even know, though, what you said. That was so.
Listeners.
Carrie never says things that are that horribly offensive, so I don't know why people are.
I was called some names.
You're just association with me, Carrie.
It's fine. I'm okay. I'm fine.
All right, guys. Thanks for joining us today. We will catch you next week. Thanks, Carrie. See you.